Hello, my name is Dawn Cooper. Welcome. This is about government and you. And there are 4 questions that I asked in street interviews, and I will be going over those. The first question was, what are the 3 branches of government, and what does each branch do? Also, the third question, Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. Can you name a third party? And then the last question is, what is the basic process in which a bill becomes a law? So it was interesting to find out during this interview with these 3 young people, even though they were young and just recently out of school, they really had no idea about the government. And honestly, I didn't know much about it until I started doing some research. And so it was interesting to learn all of this about our government. So on the first question, what are the 3 branches of government? The first one is legislative, and then executive, and judicial, and the roles that they play.
Legislative.
Yes.
Yes. Judicial. And it starts with an E.
I think so.
Executive.
And what does each branch do?
Government stuff?
So with legislative, the legislative branch is made up of 2 houses of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The most important duty of the legislative branch is to make laws. Laws are written, discussed, and voted on in Congress. For the executive branch, the role includes the president, the vice president, and the cabinet. The president is the head of the executive branch, which makes laws official. The president is elected by the entire country and serves a 4-year term. The president approves and carries out the laws passed by the legislative branch. He appoints or removes cabinet members and officials. He negotiates treaties and acts as the head of state and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The third branch is the judicial branch, and this one oversees the court system of the United States. Through court cases, the judicial branch explains the meanings of the Constitution and laws passed by Congress. The Supreme Court is the head of the judicial branch. Unlike the criminal court, the Supreme Court rules whether something is constitutional or unconstitutional, whether or not it is permitted under the Constitution. And then each branch, the legislative branch is the lawmaking branch of government. They write the laws, confirm presidential appointments, approves treaties, grant money, impeaches presidents, and declares war. They also keep any one branch from becoming too powerful. The executive branch is the branch that enforces the laws made by Congress. Proposed laws, administrative laws, command armed forces, appoint ambassadors and other officials. They conduct foreign policies and make treaties. The judicial branch is the system of courts, and they strike down unconstitutional laws, interpret constitutions and other laws, review lower court decisions, decide cases in lower courts, and appoints judges and impeaches Supreme Court justices. Now, how are the 3 branches connected? Each part of the government is connected to one another. Each has its own responsibilities and powers. They share in one another's powers so that it is possible for them to check and balance each other. In a sense, the 3 branches are not supposed to interact. Each is supposed to have its own set of powers. And according to Constitution for Kids, They regulate each other by checks and balances. Through the system of checks and balances, the three branches of government check on one another to make sure that no single branch has more power than the other. The executive branch can veto bills that the legislative branch creates. However, the legislative branch can override the veto with 2/3 majority vote. They can also have the power to impeach the president. The executive branch also has the power to pardon the judicial branch and can appoint judges. The judicial branch can declare presidential acts unconstitutional and can even declare bills or laws that the executive branch created as unconstitutional. The power that the legislative branch has over the judicial branch is that they can approve federal judges. The Democrat and the Republican are the two major parties. And can you name a third party?
Libertarian.
Socialism? Is that a thing?
That could be. There's another name for it, but it's usually called an independent party.
Okay.
And then with question number 3, and that's the Democrats and Republicans and the major parties, and they were asked to name the third party. And in that, it is usually considered independent, which is not affiliated or unaffiliated, and they just don't affiliate with Democratic or Republic. So according to Abraham, the word democratic implies will of the people. The word Republican implies rule of the law, protection from a potential tyranny of the majority. Andrew Jackson became the first president from the new party, the Democrats, the true party of the people. Ever since 1932, the Republicans have only won the presidency when their candidate was more personable or more presidential, not because of his position on any issues. For many years, the Republicans were the major party. They favored business interests and high tariffs. The Democrats supported free trade. They attracted farmers and immigrants who poured into the country between the Civil War and the turn of the century. What impact does this third party have on the national politics? The minor party or the third party has often played a role in politics. Third parties focus attention and issues and ideas. Sometimes they draw enough support to affect the outcome of the elections. Sometimes the third party gains part of its goals by supporting a majority party that promises to act on the third party's views. Third party runners rarely win elections, and they shift the national attention to particular issues. They often don't even make the ballot. What is the basic process in which a bill becomes a law?
It has to pass through Congress.
And then in question 4, when we talk about how a bill becomes a law, how it becomes a law is a member of Congress introduces a bill. The committees review and vote on the bill. The Senate and the House debate and vote on the bill. The president either signs the bill or doesn't. And then the role for sponsors, committees, debate, and voting. It is sent to the clerk of the Senate or House, who gives it a number and title. Next, the bill goes to the appropriate committee. If most committee members vote in favor of the bill, it is sent back to the Senate and the House for debate. If the bill is defeated in either the Senate or the House, the bill dies. If a majority of both the Senate and the House votes for the bill, it goes to the president for approval. If the president approves the bill and signs it, the bill becomes a law. However, if the president disapproves, he can veto the bill by refusing to sign it. Congress can try to overturn a veto. If both the Senate and the House pass the bill by a 2/3 majority, the president's veto is overruled and the bill becomes a law. And the role of the committee in passing legislation is committees are the instruments of Congress. Anyone can have an idea and make a request to their legislator for action. But committees are where the details get hashed out and the ideas come to life. Most details are hashed out in the committee before they are presented on the floor by members of the Senate or House. If it were not for committees, the legislature would probably be in session all year. It would take that long for the entire Senate and the entire House of Representatives to scrutinize and take public testimony on every bill. Fortunately, however, the workload in each house is divided among several subunits. These subunits are the standing committee. Their primary role in the legislative process is to thoroughly examine the bills assigned to them and recommend if these bills should become a law. Thank you for your time, and I hope you've learned something about our government today. Hello, I'm going to be talking about Federalists and Anti-Federalists. And in U.S. history, the Anti-Federalists are those who oppose the development of a strong federal government and the ratification of the Constitution in 1788, preferring instead for power to remain in the hands of the state and local governments. Federalists, on the other hand, wanted a stronger national government and the ratification of the Constitution to help properly manage the debt and tension following the American Revolution. This is all according to the website www.diffen.com, diffen.com. And they also had stated that the Federalist Party was formed by Alexander Hamilton, which existed from 1792 to 1824. And was the culmination of American federalism and the first political party in the United States. John Adams was the second president of the United States and the first and only Federalist president. And then, moving to today's day and age, eventually the parties became known as the Democrats, which were the Federalists, and the Republicans, the Anti-Federalists. These two groups still disagree on many topics, one of them being health care. The Democrats wanted the government-mandated health care package, but the Republicans thought such a plan that gives federal government too much power. And I do completely agree with that. I think that's one of the stupidest things that they could have done. The Republicans then argued that it should be up to the individual states to determine whether or not mandated health care plans were necessary. And I do agree with that. So that's the difference in the Federalists and Anti-Federalists. And thank you for watching.